Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. The season is rolling on, and Walsall, another away match. This time we're playing Salford, and we've got Danny. Hi, Danny.
How do?
You're right, matey.
I'm good. Yeah, how are you?
I'm good. The One Up Front podcast and Old Dead. What's that?
Old Dead Tree fanzine. Yeah, it's. We were recently told at the start of the season that the match day program wasn't making enough money for it to be viable. So the class of '92, rightfully, I suppose, have cut it. And we thought, well, we've got a few people who can string a few words together, and we've got stuff to say. So we're going to start a fanzine on the 5th of October before the Wimbledon game is going to be the first issue out.
Ah, brilliant. That's good.
Magic.
And I suppose the challenge then is to make a profit doing it.
We will. Guaranteed. We will.
Now, I'm a bit confused by Salford because for the last few years, Salford have been right up there and everybody's expecting them to get promoted. And then this season, everybody's predicting you to finish right down the bottom. Is that because they didn't see the influx of people on transfer deadline day?
I think before we brought in, if we're talking about this deadline day just gone, then I think before that a lot of the fan base were thinking we've got a lot of young players and we've kind of got a lot of older experienced players, but we haven't really got a lot of players in the prime. And I don't think we've got too many talented players who other teams are particularly interested in taking off our hands. So it was a bit of a makeshift squad, even though there've been quite a lot of ingoings and outgoings. And we'd lost Elliot Watt, we'd lost Stevie Mallon, Matt Smith, Theo Vassell. We'd lost a few. So until deadline day, when we brought in probably one of the best strike forces in the division, in my opinion, it's unproven yet, but 3 quality strikers from what I've seen, then I think things are looking up. And I will put money down that we're not getting relegated now. I think we've actually put the stopper on that. These guarantee our safety, these 3 lads.
Oh, absolutely. We'll go through those. I think it's only right that we look at the number one of there. Hakeem Adelakum. Yep. He was superb for Doncaster last season. He sort of transformed their season. And he's a top quality player, isn't he? 28 at the right age, 2 goals on Saturday, helping you beat Cheltenham. So 1-0 win at MK as well, at home to MK. That was a bit of a shock. MK, what's happening to him?
Well, you should have seen the odds before that game. I think we were 7-1 against. And I toyed with the idea. I thought we're actually defending quite well, but we're playing MK Dons and we had a few players out of position. I thought I'm not going to put the bet on. And then we went and beat them and had a clean sheet. So, but you're talking about Adelakum there. Everything I hear about him in particular is that the only thing stopping him going to a much better, more successful, maybe even a League One team or a top League Two team was his wage demands. So because we've lost so many high earners, the ones I mentioned earlier on, we can afford to throw money. He's only on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So yes, he's in his prime, 28, but I think we're looking at it that if we're paying him top dollar, then we're probably not going to be paying that for year after year. We actually want to regenerate through youth and bring younger players in. But we've got a year where we don't want to go down, and we want to probably blood a few youngsters alongside some potential superstars like Hakeem.
Yeah, Hakeem is. I was surprised that he dropped back down to League Two after the season he's had with Doncaster. I thought he'd have stayed in League One. Lincoln, I'm surprised they've let him go, to be honest. But as you say, wage demands, sometimes you don't see that, do you?
No, for sure. I definitely, everything I've heard, I'm not the most in-the-know person in the world, but I've heard from multiple sources that people just shied away as soon as he started. So I don't know the figures, but they just thought it was too rich for their blood, from what I'm aware of.
Yeah, I think as the money supply slowed up at Salford, because they were pumping lots of money in, has that sort of held off a bit lately?
It feels that way, and it definitely felt that way before they, I would say, reinvested the money they'd saved by shedding the wages of Matt Smith and the like. So I don't. Some people said to me that they've actually probably gone over last year's budget in a desperate attempt to at least make us a respectable mid-table team, because until then, the financial risk of going into the National League, of which there's no guarantee of getting out of, even if you've got crowds like Oldham get, that was unpalatable, especially because our major shareholder, Peter Lim, has basically given, I believe, Gary Neville his remaining shares. So we've only got the class of 92 now. However big their pockets are, is how deep our finances go.
Yeah, I think obviously when they were sort of in around and playing, they're sort of grabbing the money. And I'm sure they're not short of a bob or two. But I'm sure same in a similar vein, they're not looking to sort of spend all their wealth on sort of just keep financing Salford.
It feels like it's about protecting the asset, I would say. It's just, like I said, the asset immediately becomes worth less if it goes to the National League. Such a hard league to get out of. So it feels, I just think they're protecting and ring fencing things at the moment. Where we go next, I don't know.
Yeah, I think obviously coming up from the National League some years ago now, you don't want to be going back there. And the last few years, Walsall, last season was better, obviously, but the previous 3-4 seasons, round about 16th, we had flirted with a bit of nervousness about possible relegation. And it's one of those, because there's no fair play rules as far as financing in the National League. There's much bigger budgets in the National League. So if you go down there, it's going to cost you a lot of money to compete. So it is one to avoid at all costs, as you say. Okoronkwo, Francis Okoronkwo, 19 from Everton, big striker. What do you think of him so far?
Well, he won the MK Dons game with his goal, so I'll be forever. That was our first win of the season, so it was quite a big deal for us to first of all score a goal and to win a game, and also keep a clean sheet. So it was a big party, really. But when I've looked at him on his second game, which was against Cheltenham, I thought, you're right. He is a big lad. He looks like well over 6 foot. He's quite strapping. Got pace about him. But I think he's still pretty raw. I think there's still quite a lot of development to come from him. So I would expect him to slip back towards being a bench option, because you may or may not know that probably our biggest profile signing before these three strikers was Cole Stockton, who was...
Cole Stockton, he's on my list, Yeah,
I can hold fire on him, but Frankie has got potential, but I don't think he's going to be... You may not see him on Saturday, unless because Adelakum and Kouassi are both working the way into full match fitness. So it may be that Frankie may start, get subbed at half time, but he's not set the world on fire, but he is better than the players in our younger category who were our previous bench option. So
he's on the season loan, was it, for Frankie?
Yeah, he's probably got a recall for January, but I don't think anyone will be taking him back then.
No, and as you say, Kylian Kouassi, he played 24 games for Blackpool last season. He had an injury. What was his injury? Do you know?
I don't know the details, but I know it was a long-term injury. And I think one of the reasons why we've been able to actually get him is because a lot of other teams saw him as a risk of how long is it going to take him to get back to match fitness. We've done that with a few players who have been struggling for that, and we've gone for him. I was actually involved, I suppose. I broke the story on Twitter of Kylian Kouassi signing because of some contacts I've got. So I beat the club to the announcement by 2 days. So I've got a bit of a personal investment.
You get told off for that. They won't like you now for that.
I'm sure. Yeah, I don't think the club are particularly enamoured with me anyway. But that's
you get a call from Gary Neville telling you to behave yourself.
He probably will, but Kylian Kouassi is... I mean, he's only on loan, and again, I think he's got a recall clause for January. But looking at, there's nothing that he lacks. He has pace, he's big and he's strong, and he's got much better feet than a normal target man striker. So he can actually get behind the defence, go through a defence, link it up. I'm very, very excited by Kylian.
And it's just keeping him fit. Cole Stockton, obviously, getting a bit older now, but I mean, he's still got plenty of quality about him, hasn't he?
Sorry, You're not going to get any Salford fan to go with that. It's just that's what we thought coming in. We really did. We looked at his goals record and we thought, yeah, he's done it in League One not so long ago. But he's come in, not looked match sharp right from the first pre-season game. Still looks a bit heavy to my eyes. And there was an interaction where I won't mention the name, but he did give a bit of verbal abuse went to the manager when he was subbed at half time, which a lot of the crowd heard. I don't think that'll enamour him anyway. And I think he's now gone from being the number one default option that we had before deadline day to probably being third or fourth. So I think he's finished in terms of being a regular first teamer.
Yeah, I think you get that some with characters. Andy Cook comes to mind when you say that. Okay. Andy Cook came to Walsall and he was doing great, scoring goals. But when things went a little bit wrong, he was sort of mouthing off, and then the fans had a go at him, and he mouthed off at the fans, and it was never going to be any good after that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a difficult one to come back from.
The player that we ought to mention, Conor McElhaney, he's still your top player, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that he's been the most improved player by a country mile since Cal came in, because before Robinson took over in January, Conor is a very, very talented player, but he's so good he can course through games. When he does that, then I personally get very annoyed because he can do a lot more. But Cal will not accept less than 100%. So ever since he's come in, Conor's been very defensively aware. He's been very good at pressing, and he's got a few goals. But again, signing 3 forward players, that makes his place actually under threat, because we've slightly changed formation since we brought the this trio in. So it's Conor is probably
more of a 3-4-3.
It's a 3-4-1-2, I would say. Yeah.
3-4-1-2. Got you.
Woodburn as the one.
Yeah. Woodburn in front, just behind the front two.
Correct. Yeah.
So after a relatively poor start to the season, your sort of confidence is growing now. You had that one game away to Fleetwood postponed, of course, so you're on catch up a little bit. 8 points in 13th, but with your game in hand, you'll be sort of right in the action if you were to beat Fleetwood. Walsall, of course, we've sort of sitting pretty in 4th at the minute. Had a really good start to the season. The challenge for us is, can we improve our away form? Because we've always been fairly good at home. Biggest change I think you'll notice with Walsall, Isaac Hutchinson last season was a big player for us, and we thought he was going to be a massive miss, because I think he got like 13 goals, 12 assists, so 25 goal contributions. And you think with him out of the team, we're going to struggle to score goals and create stuff. But I think similar to what you're saying with Conor McElhaney, creatively he was very good, but how many tackles did he win? How much did he press? That wasn't his game, and he never did that. So now in the midfield 3, we've got a lot of energy, a lot of ball winning capabilities, and 3 players who are sort of can take a shot as well. So I think that's the big change. I think we're much more competitive in midfield. The right wing back, Tom Knowles, last season, he's moved on. We didn't take up an option to sign him on a new contract, and we've got Connor Barrett from Foiled. So you'd think getting a player from non-league, it's like, he's going to take a bit of time to sort of get up to speed. But you'd think we'd have him from the Championship, the way he plays. He's really, really good. Really happy with him. I say making up the midfield, you've got Jamie Jellis. He's another one from non-league, from Tamworth. He runs and runs and runs. He's like got boundless energy. And but what Walsall are doing, they're only giving him sort of around about 60 minutes, 60, 70 minutes, and then they're bringing another one on, because we've got lots of options in midfield.
Yeah.
So maintaining that energy throughout the 90 minutes is what's really helping us. And
what you can do with 5 subs, can't you? I mean, it's a perfect plan.
Well, I think last season, Matt Sadler was not very good with subs. And I think it was the season before when it switched to 5 subs, wasn't it? And
I think
Mike
so, yeah.
Flynn just never grabbed that at all. But yeah, they're using the bench much more wisely now. So that's good. Tyler Allen, he's a player that's done very well for us as well. Used to be a centre forward, went to wing, went to left wing back, and now he's playing left-sided centre half.
Okay.
And but he's found his position. He's very good there. And he's got a very good left foot, so he's very good on free kicks. So that's good. Jamil Matt, everybody knows about him. He's on a good run of form, but he's got challenges for his starting place. But he's got a couple of goals. The two dynamites that we'll bring off the bench most likely on Saturday will be Albert Adoma. He's former Villa, and Middlesbrough and Queen's Park Rangers.
Rings a bell, yeah.
He's just got so much quality. He's 36, but I mean, he's fitter than I've ever been. I'll tell you. That doesn't really sort of say much. Hang on, he's obviously not Ronaldo, but I mean, you see Ronaldo at an older age, and he's still fitter than the majority of the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Well, we sort of get that impression with Adoma, and he's so comfortable on the ball. He's so comfortable. He always has time on the ball, and he's very good crossing ability. And a player that we've recently got back, he's still building minutes, is Danny Johnson.
Okay.
Of course, last season was a bit of a wipeout for him, but the season before, he was on loan till January and scored 15 goals. And then Mansfield took him away and didn't let us have him back. And then last season, he was sort of in and out and had some injuries and that sort of stuff. But he's come back and he's looking sharp. He scored on Saturday and then scored again last night. So that's 2 in 2. So when he comes off the bench on Saturday, he'll be looking for 3 in 3. So and he's a lethal finisher. So
would you say that at the moment, well, this season it's quite a short one so far. Are you a particularly potent attacking force? You've talked quite a lot that, I mean, you're doing well, but are you a big threat in all games? Is that where it is at the minute?
To be honest, yes. We the thing is, last season we were one of the lowest teams on percentage possession.
Okay.
And we're still not great on possession, but when we get the ball, we're very incisive.
Yeah.
So like last night against Fulham, they had significantly more possession, something like about 70% possession.
Wow.
But I mean, we had more shots. People aren't getting many shots against us. There was a stat I saw on Twitter, and in the 4 leagues, Walsall was up there in the top 5 for the least shots conceded.
Okay.
So people aren't getting shots away. Our back 3, we've got a lot of players out injured actually. Priest Farquharson started the season. He's an excellent centre half. He's out injured. Donovan Daniels, he's out. Osh McInty, who went into midfield last season, came back into the back 3, looking very impressive. Well, he's out as well. So arguably the first choice back 3 are all injured.
Yeah.
But we got Dave Akagbu, who we had from Stoke. He'd been on loan with us last season and we signed him permanently. Yeah. Harry Williams, he's perhaps the find of the century, really. We picked him up from Alvechurch, and I think probably the plan was probably to have him 12, 18 months development and then get the best out of him. But because of injuries, he came in last season, and he's back in again now. And I've had him man of the match the last 2 games. He's been very good. And then next to him, Tyler Allen, as I said, who's been very good. Just checking a couple of messages I've got in here. When everyone is fully fit, we have far more strength in depth. To be honest, that's a big change from last season. Before, in previous seasons, when we've been into the last 20 minutes of a game and things aren't quite going well, you look at the bench and you think like inexperienced kids is what you're looking at.
Know what you mean, yeah.
But now it's like every one of those on the bench could very well start, and that's a big transition from where we've been. Uncle Albert is running around like an 18-year-old. That's fair enough. Hudson, we're creating a lot more good quality chances this season. Just need to convert them more often, which is always the thing with League Two, isn't it? And forgot James Chester was at Salford. Chester.
Carry on forgetting. It's I'll tell you this, right? We've only very recently changed to become a back three. And we've actually played players out of their natural position. Josh Osterfield, who is a defensive midfielder, stroke centre midfielder, we've played him as a centre back ahead of James Chester, who's not injured from what I've heard, and James Chester's not even been on the bench. So yes, he used to play for Wales internationally, Hull and Aston Villa, but as it stands, James Chester is a break in case of emergency option at centre half, and that's all.
Yeah,
I would say.
Got you. So I think you'll be quite confident ahead of Saturday with the way you've been going. But I think Walsall got reason to be confident as well, so it should be a good game.
I think my confidence. I've made a note of like where I think our season changed, and it was at the Bradford away game. I mean, if you look at the score 0-0, it's like, well, what you're going to talk about? It's a bland. It wasn't though. We actually, for the first time this season and during all pre-season, the first time we actually created small and short, but actually significant periods of pressure in the opposition half, and we started changing to actually keeping the ball a bit more rather than being aimlessly direct. And I was just interested in actually when you were talking about having so little possession but still being incisive, that reading between the lines, that almost sounds like you might be playing slightly direct. Otherwise, I'm not quite sure how having little possession but lots of chances works.
I think when you look at MK Dons, for example, they'll pass it round and they'll make 30 passes before they want to get anywhere near the final third.
Yeah.
And they'll have 70% possession. But then and we've had that quite a lot. In most games we've been in, we've had more shots on target than the opposition. We played against Birmingham City in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy. And despite their possession, they were very lucky to draw level and send it to penalties. Because Walsall just make better use of their ball, better use of the ball, really. We're not sort of going route one.
Yeah.
But we're just not faffing about with it quite as much, perhaps.
So it's still accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I think sometimes we give the ball away when we're sort of trying to be too incisive, that killer pass. But we've got better quality in there now, and that pass is getting through in a better level. Yeah. As I say, Connor Barrett, his ability on crossing the ball, Taylor Allen, his ability, Albert Adoma. As far as creating, they're really good creative forces there. We've had similar to I think was it Kawasi? Just getting back to form. George Hall is a player from Birmingham City. 2 years ago, they turned down 5 million for him.
Wow.
And then he had a season of injuries, and he's come to Walsall on loan for the season.
Okay.
Strange decision, but Matt Sadler started him against MK Dons in the middle, and he was just way off the pace. And I think that sort of, as I was saying about our pressing game and that sort of stuff, he just wasn't in it. And then he started on Tuesday. He started last night against Fulham, and really, again, didn't look on it. Had a little bit of a knock and went off injured.
Mm-hmm.
So he's one that sort of needs more time, I think. But I was amazed he was on the pitch to start with, really, because he didn't look fit, and we've got better options.
Yeah.
You don't know what the deal is sometimes on loans. They could be paying him to paying Walsall to play him to sort of try and get him minutes, perhaps.
Yeah, the whole loan scenario is I always think there's a sweet spot in terms of like how good you want your loan players to be. You want them to be good enough to improve your first team, but not so good that they get recalled. And so it's so difficult. And also, I think every self-respecting club now has got someone at least who's got a part-time loan manager who's tracking how many minutes are they getting? Are they actually developing at wherever they've actually been moved to? So because we've actually got a 17-year-old goalkeeper from Sunderland, Matty Young. He's our number 2, but everything I hear from League Two pundits suggests that he's probably the best young goalkeeping prospect in English football. So I think if we continue not to play him in the league, we play him in the AFL Trophy and the Cup games, and we played him in pre-season. I think if we don't allow him to develop in our first team, I think as soon as they can, they'll recall him and he'll go somewhere else. And personally, from when I see him, he looks solid and good enough. Even at 17, he doesn't look like a 17-year-old. It looks like a man. So sometimes it's how much game time do you give a loanee? Because they're not your player. Are you developing them for someone else, or do they truly improve your team?
Yeah, well, I think we've got a very similar scenario. Well, a similar scenario with Tom Simpkin. Tommy Simpkin is a Walsall-born lad that on Stokes books. He's 18-year-old keeper.
Yeah.
And I heard a whisper. Now, this could be total rubbish because it's just rumours. But I think Walsall paid for him to come on loan, and we get him money back every time he plays.
Okay.
So if he plays sort of something like 40 games, sort of Walsall being credit sort of thing.
Okay.
But he's looked good actually. He went with the England under 21s, played for England under 21s, got 2 clean sheets. And yeah, he's good. But the backup goalie, Sam Hornby, or now as he's known after the penalty shootout success, Sam Hornby.
Okay.
He saved a couple of penalties against Blues in the shootout after they equalised, and then last night he saved a penalty again last night.
Oh wow!
So, but for the previously mentioned reason, Tommy Simpkin will be starting. But yeah, Sam Hornby's he's a perpetual number 2, really.
What's he? How old is he?
I think he's probably about 26. I would say
26,
27. He's been round a bit, but just sort of as a backup keeper in most places. He was released by Colchester.
Okay.
So quite a find really for Walsall to pick him up. So that was good.
One thing I'd love to ask you, if I could, is I believe the key to the game is if you can target our weak spot. And I don't like advertising weak spots, but the scouts and the people at the video analysis, they know this just as well as I do. That our right side in our back 3 has a right back at right centre back in Tom Edwards, who's a very, very good footballer, but is not the most mobile.
Got you. Okay.
If you anytime I've seen anyone run at him, whether it's been a National League North player in pre-season or in League Two in the campaign, he looks terrified because he knows that he doesn't have recovery pace, and he's caught in 2 minds. Do I go close? Do I do this? And by that time, he's backed off into his area. It's happened twice this season where he's backed off so deep. All they've done is they've just jinked inside and scored. So that's a weakness. And we've also, as our right wing back, a converted winger. That, for me, is a gaping wound in our team. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to solve that by Saturday. But I will say this, though. Defensively, despite that, we are extraordinarily good. And there's one reason for it. Another loanee, Stefan Negru from Oxford. Unbelievable. The best player I've seen live in 15 years. Negru is he's our middle centre back, 21, I think he's his first full-time loan. Just honestly, watch out for him. He's a great player, very cultured, and he's very, very committed. And he holds that whole back line together I don't know how he does it, but we've looked very, very solid anytime he plays.
I was going to say, you've only conceded 4 goals in the first 5 games. So that's,
there you go. Yeah.
That's reasonable. The abandoned Hunter has told us Hornby's 29.
Wow. Okay.
So
Very
he's
experienced.
Is Adelakum playing out wide or through the middle? Is there another question?
Okay. As we're currently playing in a 3-4-1-2, when Adelakum comes on, which is for normally the second 45 minutes, he's one of the front 2. But I did notice when I was scouting and having a look at him from last season, he tended to play wide as kind of a left wide forward for Doncaster. So
he did.
Yeah. So that would fit our previous formation of 4-2-3-1. But we've completely revamped it, I believe, for Killian Kouassi's sake, so we can have a strike partnership up front and Killian can feel more comfortable.
So you think Adelakum will be off the bench then?
I hope Cole Stockton sat in the stand, personally. That's my hope. Because once you're doing that to your own manager in front of the fans, it's embarrassing, it's humiliating.
It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to end well.
No, his performances have not been anything of note. He's looked lethargic. He's not looked interested at times. So I think our front 2 will either be Kouassi and Frankie Okonkwo, or Kouassi and Adelakum. I think that's how we're going to set up. So it's an extremely strong and quick front 2 that I think you will have problems with.
Yeah. Okay. I say our back 3 have got plenty of pace in them.
Yeah,
and physicality, so that's good. But going to be a bit of a challenge then. Going to be a bit of a challenge. You mentioned Cole Stockton. It's one of those, when you're in League 2, quite often we get sort of players in the latter part of their career.
Yeah.
And for the last few years, Walsall have had players in, and you think, oh, we got this player. He's sort of great experience. He's going to be a real strength for us. And they've been a letdown. But obviously, Albert Adoma is a completely different level. I think probably best player we've had since Vinnie Samways and Paul Merson, to be honest.
God, I remember those 2, yeah.
Vinnie Samways and Paul Merson. Vinnie Samways is like a magician in the middle of the park. He never broke sweat. Never broke sweat in the whole of the game. And but just controlled everything. And look, obviously, Paul Merson, I think you might have heard of him.
Oh, yeah. I remember them both from like the 80s, early 90s, possibly. Yeah. Samways at Tottenham, possibly.
Yeah, Vinnie Samways at Tottenham, yeah. But like we had him, it was 2003-2004 season.
Wow. Okay.
In the Championship. And he was awesome. It was awesome.
No doubt.
We just got to try and get back there. That'd be nice. But I think, first of all, trying to do well in League 2 would be the
yeah, step by step.
Danny, enjoy the game on Saturday. Good luck for the season.
And to you.
And, keep going, eh? Nice one.
Yeah.
The joy and the pain, we've sort of experienced both, haven't we?
Always.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot.
Bye now.
Cheers.